I'm so dead inside. I almost wanted to be unable to kill Kitawa so I can just say, okay, the build doesn't work so much that I just gonna quit. Hey guys, so my plan for the new league was to kind of just make the plan as I go along, and I wanted to start with the Prismatic Burst skill, and yeah, I'm not having a good time. This is not like a conclusion, this is just kind of my experience so far, and like normally I would wait longer to make the video, make like a proper build, but I think I'm gonna be either reworking this build completely into something different or just restarting. I really don't want to restart, but man, this just feels like almost the worst league experience that I have ever had. The league start experience. So I want to talk a bit why I think that Prismatic Burst is like, it may actually be decent later on in maps, but it does have couple issues, especially as a reworked Saboteur. It does have a couple issues that I think are really bad at the start. Like you really should not be leveling with the Prismatic Burst right from the start. The moment you start using it at that level, the AoE is just so tiny. The cooldown is 0.8 second. The damage at that point is still not high enough to one-shot enemies. So essentially, hit once with and it is a spell. It's a spell. Imagine cast and crit, but without the requirement of having to crit and without the requirement of having to use cast and crit support, but you still have to hit the enemies, so you still need accuracy, so you can't really, it's kind of, okay, it's kind of a mess a bit. When you started, the main issue is small AoE, long cooldown, and not quite enough damage to one-shot enemies. Now it may be different if you got like Tabla and Sixling, but that's another problem that I'm gonna talk about. There aren't that many supports, like Prismatic Burst is really weird, and if you are confused how it works, imagine Shockwave. You know how you link attack skills to Shockwave, and then when you hit an enemy, the Shockwave comes out and does invisible AoE, pretty much invisible AoE. Well, this one is very visible but very small, and it is a spell, but it does require you to link it to an attack. So in theory, I thought that, okay, that's kind of cool. I guess you could later on transition into maybe cast and crit or like cast while channeling. Like in general, I find it hard to imagine how would you use it if it's not a main skill. Would you just chuck it in on an attack build and then just like you wouldn't really have enough scaling for your spell damage, and a lot of support gems not gonna work. Like imagine you're playing an attack build and use like elemental damage of attacks. Well, that's not gonna work. You use Trinity, which may work well early on, but Trinity is not gonna be linking to the Prismatic Burst because Prismatic Burst is a triggered skill, and Trinity doesn't work with triggered skills. So early on, you may want to use like Elemental Focus, let's say, but then you lose Shock and you lose Freeze. That felt really bad, so I did not want to use that. So what else is there? Okay, maybe added cold damage or added lighting damage. Well, guess what? Prismatic Burst only chooses one element and it deals 100% less damage of each unchosen damage type, which means if you chooses fire and you got added lighting, that added lighting is completely wasted. And as far as I know, like the conversion method would not really work. Like you can't really convert all the damage into fire and then like not have this 100% less damage. This 100% less, I believe, goes before the conversion. Or at least that's what people were speculating. I'm not entirely sure about that. But either way, early on, you're not gonna have that anyway. Right, so you don't really have damage. There aren't that many support gems that would work with it, unless you want to. You can use elemental hit threshold jewels, just like it works now for Wall Strike. It also works now for the LA hit, and then for the Prismatic Burst, you can limit which element it chooses. It also has another thing where it checks your attributes. If you have highest strength, it will try to choose fire more likely. How much more likely? No idea. If you got if the dexterity is higher, it makes it more likely to choose cold, and then if intelligence is higher, it makes more likely to choose lighting. So it sort of has an inbuilt threshold jewel, just like elemental hit threshold jewel. However, because of this inbuilt mechanic with the attributes, you can't really use elemental equilibrium, for example, if you want to use all the three different elements, because it's not gonna be completely random. It's gonna choose a different one, I guess. Maybe even I saw like it choosing lighting multiple times in a row because my intelligence was the highest. So it doesn't really roll a different element each time. You can't really use elemental equilibrium. Another thing, if let's say, what kind of weapon would you use? Because you're still most likely gonna try to do damage with attacks early on. So you're not gonna be using like a completely spell damage weapon because it feels bad if your attack speed is slow, right? It feels really bad. So initially I was using a claw, I tried the dagger. I was using the claw because life gain and hit is really nice early on, but the claw doesn't really give you damage. Now here's another thing, added flat damage to spells. Also gonna be completely wasted when Prismatic Burst chooses a random element, right? Like let's say you get flat fire damage to spells and it chooses lighting. Well, that flat fire damage is completely wasted, right? +1 to, let's say, fire skill gems. Also not gonna work because it's a support skill. Just like with the impending doom. So the amulet with +1 to all +1 to all spell skill gems is also not gonna increase its level. So what is there for weapon? Okay, I thought maybe battle mage like Nycta's Lantern. And then, but then I thought, okay, it doesn't have inbuilt conversion. So the flat physical damage that you get from Nycta's Lantern Battle Mage for the spells is going to be absolutely completely wasted. Because it has no conversion. Okay, well, it still has flat fire damage. Well, guess what? The Prismatic Burst can roll cold and lighting. So that flat fire damage is wasted as well. So Battle Mage is also not really going to work. Unless you get full conversion and limit your element to only one type. Which seems boring to me. And besides early on, well, you may not have 2 jewel sockets and those 2 specific unique jewels. So your only options are scaling critical, scaling like spell damage, although spell damage is not going to affect the attack damage early on, and attack damage is still meaningful early on, and then getting elemental damage or generic damage. So that's what I'm kind of building, but as for the supports, it's kind of hard to choose what to use. Like I don't want to use LA Focus. So what I'm using right now, I got the Culling Strike. Static Strike is linked to the Prismatic Burst. Power Charge on crit because I want more critical chance. And Culling Strike, like there's not much else to use right now. So like this is just Act 5, I don't have a 6 link or even a 5 link. I guess Hypothermia you could use, but then you would definitely, like you're not gonna be chilling enemies with every hit. Like maybe it's not gonna roll cold version and choose the fire and then lighting and then lighting again and then fire for example and then finally cold and then you're gonna chill. So it's gonna be very inconsistent. So I guess you could use Triggerbots, but then it feels kind of wasted if you're using all the elements. You can shock enemies yourself, you can freeze them, you can ignite yourself, but then use Triggerbots for shock and chill. It feels kind of a bit wasted. So right now I'm not even using any damaging auras. I'm just beginning to travel towards the reservation node so I can squeeze in Zealotry. Now I do have Doedris Tenor Gloves, which does give 100% increased spell damage, and there is no drawback for me because I don't use cast speed. I just attack with the Static Strike, it beams out, and then each time it hits an enemy it procs, well not each time, but based on the cooldown it also procs the Prismatic Burst. Now I initially thought that even if Prismatic Burst, I knew that it only is gonna gain +9 to radius at level 20. So I knew that it's not gonna be big AoE. So I thought that, okay, I'm gonna go with the new Triggerbots from Saboteur. Trigger level 20, summon Triggerbots when allocated. 35 less damage with triggered spells. Now, I thought that, okay, it's gonna use Triggerbots and instead of triggering from me, it's gonna trigger from those Triggerbots, and that's how it works. And we're gonna like spread out and I'm gonna be able to cover more radius or more area with those 2 prismatic bursts. Now here's the problem with the prismatic burst, and I think those Triggerbots are gonna work so much better for anything else that is not prismatic burst. So the prismatic burst happens on hit. When you hit an enemy, that enemy will kind of produce like a small AoE. Imagine like a melee splash, maybe. Or I guess Shockwave is the better example, but smaller. Now the problem is, you probably haven't even realized that in the clips that I already had the Triggerbots and it was triggering 2 bubbles two Prismatic Bursts at the same time. The problem with the Prismatic Burst and those Triggerbots are that the Triggerbots, your trigger spells trigger twice, once from each Triggerbot's location. The additional triggers ignore cooldowns. So those Triggerbots essentially do triggers for you, and each of them do the trigger like separately. But they both do pretty much at the same time, and that's the problem. Whenever you hit the first enemy, both Triggerbots just trigger on top of that enemy. So it doesn't matter even if you use projectiles, even if you use like wand attacks like Power Siphon, and you hit like multiple enemies at the same time, the first enemy that gets hit is gonna proc those two triggers. The bubbles, like I call them bubbles, those bubbles just don't spread out, they just happen at the same time in one location. So you don't even get extra coverage, so taking the Triggerbots is pretty much completely useless. It does give like 30% more damage overall, like more DPS, but okay, now my shocks are weaker, because each of them deal 35% less damage with triggered spells. So now the shocks are weaker. So it feels kind of pointless doing that. Now, if you use anything else, like let's say casual channeling with like, I don't know, Ice Novas, you're gonna notice that each Triggerbot gonna trigger its own like Ice Nova. And like we're gonna spread out a bit more and you're gonna get a bit better coverage. But for Prismatic Burst, it's like it happens on the enemy hit, so whichever enemy gets hit, it triggers both of them. So it feels like really wasted and very disappointing. My kind of backup plan, in case the AoE is like really bad on Prismatic Burst, would be that the Triggerbots would spread out and I would cover more area, kind of failed as well. So that's, I guess, my plan B. Failed. So far, those are the main issues with the Prismatic Burst. Now, the damage numbers do look pretty good, but the base cooldown is 0.8 seconds, like I said. It will get +9 to radius at level 20, and with levels, it's getting cooldown recovery rate. I don't quite remember, I think at level 20 it's gonna get like 57 increased cooldown recovery rate, but remember that you need 100% increase cooldown recovery rate to reduce your cooldown by half. If you end up getting combined of 100% increased CDR, you're gonna have 0.4 second cooldown, and it's still not gonna be that great. Like in comparison, cast and crit is you can trigger it 6.6 times per second. This one, kind of at best, you're gonna trigger it 2 times per second. That is all. And like the AoE is small, the trigger rate is kind of bad. Like I don't know what to even think about Prismatic Burst. Visually it looks cool, but that's about all. The damage numbers may also be good later on, especially if you can get like a level 35 Shaco Prismatic Burst. And I had a couple other people coming to my stream saying they also feel they made a mistake going with the Prismatic Burst. So I don't know what to think. I'm probably gonna be reworking this since I'm Saboteur. Maybe I'll do the Flamethrower trap, Lightning Spire trap, maybe cast and crit. I kind of wanted to test also the Harbinger sword later with the Triggerbots. Maybe Poet's Pen. I don't know. I kind of need your, I guess, opinion. Maybe you also try that. Maybe something similar. Maybe something else with the Triggerbots that you're doing that is working really well. Let me know in the comments below, because I'm gonna be, I don't know, reworking this build or maybe starting over a new build tomorrow's stream. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you're having a better start of the league, because I'm not really having, although I did get quite a good amount of uniques. I did get Tear of Purity from Act 1, so that's immediately a lot of resistances. I also got Prism Weave, I then got another Prism Weave, then I got 2 new uniques. Both of them are bad. For some reason, by the way, the Tainted Pact Amulet, which I thought is gonna be absolutely broken OP, was very cheap. And I'm not sure if the price is gonna remain cheap, so if it's like 1 or 2 years, I would recommend you to just buy it and keep it. Maybe once people start testing it out with the Cell Poison, for example, or Death Oath, if it actually works the way I imagine, it's gonna be very strong, and the price is gonna skyrocket, unless it's like super common. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.